After 10 years of caliphate, Hazrat Umar passed away. Just 3 days after his death, Hazrat Uthman became the new caliph of the Muslims. Hazrat Uthman was not only a great companion, but also one of the richest men in the world. Hazrat Uthman remained the caliph of Muslims for 12 years. He united the Muslims on one official version of the Quran. He introduced the first Islamic currency. He expanded the mosques of Makkah and Medina. But the first and biggest rebellion in caliphate history also occurred during Hazrat Uthman's era. People know a lot about the other two caliphs, but very little about Hazrat Uthman. Hazrat Uthman's story is deeply inspiring. Hazrat Uthman was born in the richest family of Makkah, Banu Umayyah. His father Affan ran a large clothing business in Makkah. His business stretched from Makkah to Rome and Yemen. One day, when Hazrat Uthman was still very young, his father Affan passed away. Before his death, Affan had only 2 children, a son named Uthman and a daughter named Amina. Before Islam, the Arab system was such that all of a father's wealth would go to his son, while daughters received nothing. Thus, all of Affan's business and wealth went to young Hazrat Uthman at a very early age. Because of this, Hazrat Uthman became one of the wealthiest men in Mecca at a very young age. That's why all the young men of Mecca looked up to Hazrat Uthman as a role model. Despite having so much wealth, Hazrat Uthman didn't live a life of luxury like other nobles. Instead, he focused on his family business. He turned it into an international business. Because of this business, Hazrat Uthman became so famous in Mecca that mothers would say to their children, "I love you as much as the Quraysh love Uthman." While Hazrat Uthman was running his clothing business in Mecca, another man's business was also booming at the same time, Hazrat Abu Bakr. And this is where the great friendship between these two noble companions began. When Hazrat Uthman's business was at its peak in Mecca, at that exact time, the first revelation descended upon the Prophet Muhammad in a cave near Mecca. After the Prophet's family, the first person to accept Islam was Abu Bakr. Immediately after accepting Islam, he went straight to his friend Uthman and brought him toward Islam. Hazrat Uthman, whom the youth of Mecca looked up to as a role model, accepting Islam was a major shock for all of Mecca, especially his tribe, Banu Umayyah. After Hazrat Uthman accepted Islam, it became clear that Muslims would no longer suffer from financial hardship. Hazrat Uthman was the first and only person from Banu Umayyah to accept Islam by going against his own tribe. When Prophet Muhammad began calling people to Islam in Mecca, many initially believed he was doing it only to promote his own clan, Banu Hashim. So people thought Islam was just the religion of one tribe. Then one day, a Quranic surah was revealed, in which Allah harshly condemned Abu Lahab, the Prophet's own uncle, and his wife, excluding the rest of Mecca. This was so everyone would understand that Islam was not for one family, but for the entire world. But the problem was that the very uncle condemned in these verses had 2 sons who were married to the Prophet's 2 daughters. When Abu Lahab and his wife heard these verses, they became furious. In revenge, they ordered their sons to divorce the Prophet's daughters. When Hazrat Usman, R.A., saw that the Prophet Muhammad's PBUH daughters were divorced just to weaken him, he went directly to the Prophet, PBUH, and asked for the hand of his daughter Ruqayyah. In this way, Hazrat Usman became very close to the Prophet Muhammad. Seeing this, his tribe Banu Umayyah could not tolerate it anymore, as they saw it as a great humiliation. So like others, Banu Umayyah also began to oppress Hazrat Usman, despite his powerful status. It is said that his uncle Hakam used to tie him with ropes and beat him, and his entire family kept urging him to abandon Islam. But Hazrat Usman, despite all this, stood firmly with the Prophet against his own family. Soon after, a time came in Makkah when some Muslims could no longer stay there, because the people of Makkah had martyred 2 Muslims. So the Prophet instructed these Muslims to migrate from Arabia to Abyssinia, where a righteous king would surely help them. Following the Prophet's instruction, Hazrat Usman, along with his wife Ruqayyah and some other Muslims, left Arabia for Abyssinia. There once again, Hazrat Usman used his business knowledge to establish a new business. While Hazrat Usman, was in Abyssinia, the people of Makkah boycotted the Prophet Muhammad and his family and severely oppressed them. But Hazrat Usman, being far away in Abyssinia, could not help the Prophet. After spending 4 years in Abyssinia, a rumor spread that all of Makkah had accepted Islam. Hearing this, Hazrat Usman and other Muslims left Abyssinia and returned to Makkah. But upon arrival, they realized that it was all false. Instead of returning to Abyssinia, the Prophet instructed the Muslims to migrate to Medina. Medina, unlike Makkah, was a very poor region at that time. The Muslims there were in such poor condition that even drinking water was not available. Seeing this, the Prophet gathered all the Muslims in Medina and said, "Whoever purchases the well of Bir Rumah from the Jew and opens it for Muslims will have a place in paradise." But only one man had a business empire spread across Sham, Yemen, and now Abyssinia. Usman directly approached the Jew, but he refused to sell the well. So Hazrat Usman, made a deal to buy half the well, one day his, one day the Jew's. But soon the Jew realized it was a big mistake. On the day the well belonged to Usman, all the people came to draw water, and on the Jew's day, no one came to him. The Jew was forced to sell the entire well to Hazrat Usman, Hazrat Usman, bought the well for 20,000 dirhams and donated it entirely for the Muslims. This donation was so significant that the world remembers it to this day. The well and surrounding land are still registered under Hazrat Usman's name in Saudi Arabia. Income from the well was used to build a hotel in Medina under Hazrat Usman's name. This hotel earns 50 million riyals annually, all of which is distributed among the poor. Hazrat Usman, is the only companion whose name still results in millions being spent in the way of Allah.